you so much, Mr. Bello, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Isheo.
The interest of the Nigerian people, the average consumer who pay, and people make reference to other clients. Oh, if it was in the United States, if it was in Britain, if it was in France, this will never happen. There are drop calls. Nobody cares. Services are just awful and just poorly giving. And I see that your predecessor perhaps did more with big corporates and went after, was looking after the big companies. But I saw that you went to the street. You look like your feet is on the ground. In your own mandate is to monitor, to implement, to ensure that there is adequate service delivery to the Nigerian people. But services are very poor in this country.
Thank you very much, Seun. I think the duty of FCCPC is basically for the promotion of consumer welfare and ensuring economic efficiency. And we do this by ensuring there is fair competition, fair pricing, to the extent that services are well rendered to the public. Where we have a kind of dissatisfaction or discomfort, the consumers have every right to come and complain to us, and we proceed to investigate. And based on that investigation, our findings and so on, we take the next reaction in that regard. With regard to the telecoms, now I must say, let us be fair. The telecom companies, they've been negotiating for price increase the last 12 years or so. The government, the past and the present, they've not granted it, basically because they feel that it's unjustifiable. Now, in view of the recent inflationary crisis and so on, many of them now saw the need to apply. And I remember, even before I came to the FCCPC, I was part of the government committee. I was looking into the ways that by looking at their demands. And one of the things we discovered was that the infrastructure which they had in place were not being well maintained and so on. If you go to some parts of Nigeria, you will discover that to get an adequate network becomes very difficult because of the cost of production. Many of them cannot even sustain them. You have to buy diesel. Most of the time, you don't even get electricity. So they have to supplement and so on and so forth. Now, it's becoming so distressing now, to the extent that if you are not careful, that is the answer. Perhaps some of them might even quit Nigeria, or some of the telecoms might just collapse. So the FCCPC and the NCC will be deliberating on this matter in the last 2.5 years or so, and see how can we meet up. The telecom companies, they demanded for 100%. We now said, oh no, this cannot be possible. It is better you start, if you are even going to authority increase at all, let us look at the gradual increments. So that has been the situation in the last 2 years. And it has gotten to a stage where many of them cannot even cope anymore. And so when they came with 50%, we said, okay, what we are going to ensure, our own responsibility, we don't determine how they fix their prices and so on. As long as there is fair competition, I want to ensure there is fair competition in the telecom industry. There are competitors, so they can fix the price. At least we'll be able to get them to come below 50%, between 0 to 50%. Some of them may go for 30%, some of them may go for 40%. But the most important thing for FCCPC is basically to guarantee that there is an efficient service to the consumer. So if you are increasing your prices, at what cost? Who is going to benefit? What are the things that were wrong in the past? So are you going to correct?
Do you have a measurement?
So we have, for instance,
scientific measurement for this. These indices.
Oh, we have our.
Whether or not it is fair, whether what they are asking for is fair on the consumers, which are Nigerians.
Oh, to be fair to them, we were able to persuade them to say no, we cannot ask for 100%. We can't go even more than 50% for a start. Because all they wanted was 100%. You can say, well, no, it's not possible. Nigerians are already depressed when it comes to looking at prices range all over the country, price of goods and services all over. You cannot add this to the problems of Nigerians and so on. So the NCC, and NCC have also been negotiating with them. And so we succeeded in joining the NCC, in persuading them to say, okay, what we can be granted should be between 10 and 50%, certainly no more than 50%. So it's now left for the telecom operators to determine at what percentage MTN may decide, okay, I'll go for 40%. The other Globalcom may say, I want to go for 30%. So it's left for them. That is our own agreement with them. Now, beyond that, what we are interested in is the service going to be now more efficient than before? Are people going to get better coverage? Better coverage and so on. There won't be I can't get across when your service is supposed to be running and then somebody put up a code, cannot get through and so on. That is our concern.
So did they give a promise on
the
that?
Consumer? No, we have to ensure that if
but they need to be able to commit to it.
No,
Mr. Bello,
they must commit to it.
Yeah, because
now our own is to ensure that they commit to it. That is done. So when the price is finally agreed and they are start implementing it, we are going to start monitoring to see that they provide that efficient services required.
You know what gets a lot of Nigerians angry?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that there is any, Nigerians are very hardworking.
Precisely.
And you will look at it, our economy is so resilient that when there are depression in so many other countries who are reliant on credit, but because Nigerians are reliant on the daily income, millions of Nigerians rely on those daily income, and they can pursue to feed their families no matter what. And not relying on anybody giving them credit to buy cars, to buy a house, and whatever. And you see that they want to pay for anything good. But the question is that it does look like there's nobody fighting for the right of the consumer. You go to the supermarket, supermarket A, supermarket B, the prices of the same commodity within the same street, in the same city are different. And the consumers are they are at the receiving end. These telecoms, and I keep, each time I have a conversation about it, the telecoms in this country, these guys do not really care about the people. Yes, they have their constraint. But how many times do the telecoms company have told Nigerians, oh, tomorrow you'll be experiencing interruption? Banks do that. They send messages to say, and emails to say, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., there will be interruption of service. How many times do we just experience interruption? Let's assume that these are cases beyond their power and it comes on emergency. How many times have any of the telecoms come to Nigerians to say, for 5 hours you experience bad service? In that case, we'll give you 50 naira data, 50 naira talk time. Yeah, they take Nigerians for granted. And we have come to you, Mr. Bello. Can Nigerians look to the FCCPC to say, save us from these guys who collect their money and they're asking for an increment in tariff? Can they ensure that they are responsible in the first place?
Now, recently you notice that we signed an MOU with the NCC because the Nigerian Communication Commission that regulates that industry are only to ensure that there's fair prices, there's efficiency and all those things. One of the terms of that MOU is the fact that you provide efficient services to the Nigerians. And our take in this is that we want to ensure that, okay, even they've increased their prices, how are consumers compensated when they are injured? How do they get the necessary efficiency in terms of receiving and then dialing calls to the other party and so these are some of the things we are going to be monitored because there's a provision under the MOU that we are to monitor that those things are properly provided. Where a consumer is dissatisfied, they have the responsibility to alert us, and we will take it up on their behalf. We can comfortably call the NCC. We may not necessarily talk to the telecoms directly because of our MOU. Say, these are the complaints we have from the consumers, and these are the things. We give them the timeline with which to comply with those things and so on, to remedy the defects. Where that is not done, then we have the right to take our.
So I just want to plead with you, Mr. Bello. Your role is that of an ombudsman.
Yes.
In this case, on behalf of Nigerians, can we trust that you will fight for us? That look, if I make a call, Mr. Bello, and there's going to be an increase, I make if the first 50 seconds of my call drops, I could not hear you, you could not hear me. I redial. I've done another 50 seconds. I'm paying for it. Yeah. I've not been able to achieve my aim of communicating with you. And 3, 4, 5 times, I've done almost 5 or 6 minutes. trying to renegotiate that communication line, and yet is at my own expense. So I want to plead with you. Can you make a commitment to the Nigerian people tonight that it's not going to be business as usual? Nigerians are not going to be taken for granted. These are hardworking people who fend for a living, who pay for services, but never get under the Tinubu government. Can Nigerians get that commitment from you?
Basically, that's our responsibility to ensure that Nigerian gets the desired service they have paid for. And we are meant to ensure that that is possible. So part of our MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, we signed with the NCC because we don't want a situation where the two agencies of government be dealing with the telecoms at the same time and so on. You create unnecessary bureaucracy and different distraction. So first of all, escalate problems to NCC. So we ask NCC, please, these are the problems that people are agitating over. How soon can we get resolved? We set a timeline for which to be resolved. And after, if we don't get the result, that's when we now move in and say, okay, look, this cannot continue. So our responsibility is to ensure that the efficiency required.
Mr. Bello, I want you to make a commitment here on this program.
Yeah.
That with you in the saddle, and you've been in public service, you've been on this other side also, holding government accountable, holding the feet of public officers to the fire, and saying you must do that which you are called to do. You're a political scientist also. You are a lawyer, and you have a very solid reputation in the public. Can you give that commitment tonight that it's not going to be business as usual? I'm not sure Nigerians trust the NCC any longer. But with your role, you have the constitutional duty to hold these people to account. Can we get that commitment to you?
Of course. Once we are appointed to this kind of a position, it's your responsibility to ensure that the job is done. And our responsibility is to ensure that we must make sure that we satisfy Nigerians. The FCCPC belongs to Nigeria. NCC belongs to Nigeria.
But will it be business as usual?
It cannot be business as usual.
Under your watch?
Because it cannot be business as usual.
We can hold you accountable to that.
Oh, we do that to the best of our ability.
One thing that we are worried about is energy. I know that it does look like your body language is more into the plight of the average person on the street. And in that sense, and there are a lot of disparity. There is a video that went viral. Omole Phase 1 the residents, they marched in Lagos, and they marched to the office. There is a bargain between them and the provider of energy. They were within band A and they're not getting, and they marched there to go and lay complaint. It almost led into a scuffle, and that should not happen.
Yes.
If there is a promise for a certain service, Nigerians must get it. The promise the energy providers told Nigerians through the Ministry of Power was that if you are in Bane, you will get this. And they said Nigerians are big, but a lot of people will tell you. And if I ask Nigerians now to tweet to us so that we can show if you have this kind of complaint, tweet to us and let us know. And you see a lot of the barrage of complaints from Nigerians. What are you doing in that sector?
Thank you very much. The issue of energy has been very problematic over decades. I don't even want to even say years.
I was
decades.
born into it.
Yes.
Up generation.
So recently, let me just see if I might recall. Recently, we got complaints from the public that we're going to be charged for new meters. And they escalated the problem to us and so on. We called a meeting. The NERC, the regulatory authority in charge of energy, they came to us and so on. And there we stated that nobody, no Nigerian, should pay for any meter. And that was reported. That was just late last year. And the NERC had to ask all the disco to comply with that, and including all the meter suppliers. And they all complied with that. That's to just show the extent to which we can intervene and the confidence, because we normally collaborate with the fellow agencies. So if anyone has any issue over the energy or over the energy issue, over the supply of electricity to them and so on and so on, they are just escalators. These are the problems we are having. We are not getting the desired services for what we paid for. That is our responsibility to follow up and take the next reaction that is required.
It's going to be interesting. The handle, the email that you can send if you've got any of those complaints in whichever sector. I'm hearing pensioners talking about their pensions, and people are asking their rightful monument after serving government for several years, and they're saying, when would they get it? You can tweet it out so that Mr. Bello can see some of them right on the program. So the big question is that they need to do the right thing.
Yes.
What about
lodge a complaint? If you lodge a complaint, those things.
They channel to lodge a complaint will be put on the screen.
It's our responsibility. We even tell you the time. Which we'll get back to you, and constantly. So we tell you so that it can be constantly.
Is there a 24-hour call service?
By the time it's displayed, you see everything.
And there's an email that people can.
There's a Facebook, there's Instagram.
And there will be a response.
There will be a response to you. Say, okay, it's the other investigation. Some investigation might even take over a month because of the process you have to go through and so on. For instance, you might invite some of the corporate bodies and so on. The process sometimes might take a very long time, but we keep informing the complainants that we are on it, and this is the stage we are in and so. Recently, there was an issue of housing. There are a lot of houses that was supposed to be provided for. People have paid for the houses, and those houses were not delivered for over 3 years. And because the people involved had to write us. And we took that, we intervened. And when we intervened and so on, some of them are already getting their houses now. Some have paid their money. They said they want the houses again.
In Lagos, there is a law, and I'm very sure that you were in cabinet. Later on, you became the SSG. A law stating how much a tenant can pay to a landlord, but a lot of the landlords don't obey it. People collect as much as 2 years' rent, and it's crazy. How can you, in this economy, how can you be paying 2 years' rent? 2 years rent, 2 years tenant agency, 2 years legal, 2 years caution, and service charge. And imagine to people paying 2 million, 2 years rent, and all of this in Surulere, someone paying 2-bedroom for almost 7 million at a package. I mean, that is unfair.
You know, I mean, the Ministry of Justice in Lagos State is responsible for monitoring that. There is a committee responsible for it. If people lodge complaint, proper complaint about, because I've witnessed when I was in government in Lagos State, I've seen several interventions that were very positive, that the Ministry of Justice had to intervene on behalf of tenants against the landlords. So if people lodge a complaint to the proper channel, I believe that some of them can be solved. I'm not saying that all of them can be sorted out, but I believe strongly that the Lagos State Ministry of Justice has a department in charge of this, that takes charge of that issue of rent.
What about pricing of petroleum products and even the quality? Because there are arguments as to which of these products are. I've had the experience where I bought a fuel and it messed up my engine.
Yeah.
And you go back to the filling station, there's nothing you can do.
First of all, the consumers have to understand. They have to understand the rights that they have under the law. That if you have been cheated by your producer or by the seller and so on, you have to lodge a proper complaint to the authority. This is what
Some people say they lodge complaint, but nobody listens to them. They don't get a reply. They don't get a response.
But we are now saying that there is FCCPC, which has been on since 2018 when the law was reviewed. It used to be a consumer and an National Consumer Council before, but the scope was expanded. Even on mergers and acquisition now, if there is going to be a merger and acquisition, the FCCPC has to approve it.
No, so I asked about pricing. And I know also that in terms of petroleum product pricing, distance of transportation, and you might not be able to get it across, but can we get a situation where that is also, there's a balance?
Where there's a law of supply and demand, we cannot intervene. Where there's a proper, there's efficiency in the market, and there are competitions, fair competition. I don't think the FCCPC can interfere and dictate the price. Once we can guarantee there is fair competition, you cannot be saying that, okay, this is the prevailing price in the market. The FCCPC cannot come out and say, no, this is the price you must take. We cannot dictate that. We are not a price control body. I want to ensure fair competition
interest
of the consumers.
But also that
with respect to what he has purchased
and
what he has purchased or he has bought.
So there are, and I wanted to let our viewers know that yes, if Mr. Bello is saying there are channels to communicate your complaint, those are there. You can quickly take a snapshot of it on your screen right now, and you can through those channel of communication. They are on Facebook and social media. There are also telephone through which you can lay your comment, and also email that you can officially attach document, and investigation will be carried out. Or you can also revert to us when you cannot, and we can call the FCCPC out, because if FCCPC is the ombudsman, there should be an ombudsman on the FCCPC if they don't do their jobs also. But we do know that they know their duties and they will do them. Let's do our own part as citizens. That if you feel unfairly treated as a consumer, you have a channel to communicate your frustration, and in that sense, whether or not they will listen is something that we need to get the commitment of Mr. Bello. On the final note, in all of this, there are those even who are afraid that they were going to bring agricultural products that are not organic into the market. It will shorten the lives of Nigerians. Nigerians just want assurances that whatever that is brought into this country is good, and that Nigeria does not become a dumping ground, and that when they are unfairly treated, somebody is listening and action is being taken, and Nigerians are not taken for granted. And those are some of the assurances that Nigerians
that's the assurance. That's what we are saying. You must be able to lodge the proper complaints that this is what I've paid for, this is what I've been provided. This is not as satisfactory as far as I'm concerned, and so on. And that is our responsibility. You have paid for something, and then you are not provided the necessary services. You don't get the desired. It has to do with the quality of service that you are provided, or what you have paid for, you do not get it, and so on. It's our responsibility to now intervene and say, why we ask the producer, the seller, or whoever, or the manufacturer, say, why did you provide this for the consumer when it's not the kind of thing that he paid for? It's part of our responsibility, and we are ready to guarantee the interest of the consumer at all times.
Look, Mr. Bello, for the interest of the Nigerian people, we are channels who partner with you. Let us know how we can help the consumer so that producers will not take Nigerians for granted, and the effort or the interest of the Nigerian people are really, really taken care of. But I wish you and your team the very best. We are behind you if you're doing the right thing, and we hope that you get the best out of your office. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sheung.
I appreciate it.